Chop one ahead, and they've got numbers up by 3-on-1. Led by Austin Watson across. Watson, fast shot, score! That one deflected off a Cleveland defender. The one-timer from the near side by Nate Danielson.
With a goal tonight for the Grand Rapids
And the Griffins have taken a 6-3 lead.
6-3 win over those pesky
When
Cleveland
they come down, I was
Monsters
about to say, Bob, one pass, two.
pesky Cleveland Monsters.
Pesky, and you know what? Those Griffins are hot, hot, hot.
Yes, coming off a loss last night on the road at Chicago, but we're able to put her together and come back home and beat a Cleveland team who they've had no luck against. Just absolutely no luck against this Cleveland Monsters team. So, and this is a Cleveland team that was in the Eastern Final last year, losing to Hershey. So, don't have much luck against Cleveland on the road, but we'll take the victory at home. And Nate Danielson with the goal tonight, always good to see. So, welcome in, Don Tottingham, Garrett Kaloje, raising the banner, episode 12 already. So,
Flying by before you know it.
flying by. Flying.
Going to be a grown adult driving here before we know it, John.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. By the way, Michigan hockey over the weekend split with Western Michigan. For those of you keeping,
They did win last night then. I saw that they lost on Friday.
They did. They got handled there out in Kalamazoo, but were able to come back home and TCB it. And perhaps the visit from the Michigan football team during the second intermission was enough to propel them over the top to beat Western Michigan with their win in Columbus.
That was a good game, by the way. 2 top 10 teams ranked in NCAA.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
good Western team by former Red Wing assistant coach. Battle the former Red Wing assistant coaches, by the way. Brandon Naurato is on Michigan staff. He's their head coach, and Pat Ferschweiler's the head coach out there in Western. He was there for a couple years with old Jefferson Blashill himself.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the Blashill Bowl.
The Blashill Bowl, absolutely. And I did not get a read on what Michigan State did this weekend. I probably should have had that in front of us. I don't know what they did. I don't know how our pal did. Let's take a look.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how they did. We're trying to work it out next week with Mr. Matt Pocket to bring him back on. I know you mentioned he was in Minnesota, so I know we're hoping that our Lakers did quite well, or at least that we're hoping that they did quite well.
My understanding was they did.
They
They were able to handle their business out there. I know they got a win there on Friday. I just don't know what yesterday's result was. By the way, Michigan State...
They TCB'd against Lindenwood at Ron Mason. I did not know this, by the way, Don.
Mm-hmm.
It is now called the Ron Mason Rink at Munn Ice Arena.
That's right.
So they took care of business against Lindenwood, 2-game sweep, 4-0 and 2-0. And I would be curious to see. I'm assuming Augustine was in net for both of those games, and I would just
take a look at the box
score.
I know he played the first, and I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah. Isaac Howard had an assist on Saturday night, or on Sunday, sorry. So or today he had an assist against Lindenwood. He's the first round draft pick of the Tampa Bay Lightning. I believe that was 2023, as I want to say, when that was officially the thing on that.
Excellent. So yes,
he did not play. No, the backup played today, so he pitched a 14-save shutout. So Augustine did get the shutout on Friday. Is what
there
it looks
you go.
like.
So, by the way, Michigan State's 11-1 on the season. They're moving right along, man. They are playing some good hockey there. The old Spartians, much to my dismay. But
yes,
they have a tough
and
weekend coming up, though, Garrett. They could travel out to Madison, Wisconsin, to take on those Badgers.
And the boys in Maize and Blue do as well, too. I mean, they've got the next 2 weeks. They're on the road. They're going to be going to the State of Hockey, is what they call themselves out in Minnesota. They're going to be playing the Golden Gophers out in Minneapolis. And then they'll be coming back to the barn in Ann Arbor. So they'll be hosting Wisconsin as well. So that'll be a fun little thing before they head off for holiday break.
And Michigan State's only loss this year was at the Ron Mason Rink at Munn Ice Arena to Boston College, who just happened to be number 2 at the time. So, after that, they've pretty much rolled everybody. They played Canisius, swept that weekend series. They swept Ohio State, which that doesn't hurt anybody's feelings around here. Swept Notre Dame, again, doesn't hurt anybody's feelings around here.
Might need the football team to come back for both of those games, if you will.
So, no, I'm sorry, that was for Michigan State. So,
Oh, well.
yeah. So, yeah. But, yeah, no, rolling right along. Both teams, and it's good to see that our buddy Trey Augustine's doing well there. And like I said, I wanted him to take the reins. And so far, he seems to be doing that. So, from that standpoint, maybe he is going to be the guy, Garrett. Maybe that's. I'm just looking up his stats.
Yeah, I mean,
stats
there's
right
still a whole half of a season left in another World Junior tournament, but you hope that he's turned the corner. I mean, you really do. You hope that he's so far so good. I mean, so far he's looked like the kind of player that he looks like the kind of player that has really stepped up and embraced it. I mean, he's not the whole reason, but he's part of the reason why they have been where they have been. So, and it's nice to see. It's nice to see that he's going to have a chance to do that. So by the way,
yeah.
Our Lakers are on a little bit of a heater, by the way. They flew out to go up against the Tommies out there in old St. Paul, Minnesota, and swept the weekend series.
And
our friend Matt Pocket on the call on 99.5 Yes FM up there in the Sioux.
Yeah, and I hope Matt was wearing his thickest jacket possible, because I've been told that arena there in St. Thomas is quite chilly. So,
correct, but they ended up winning 4-2 on Friday, and then took the second and final game in the series 5-3 on Saturday. So I'm sure he was probably layered up in 3 layers and probably went ice fishing in between games.
I'm sure of that.
I'm sure he enjoyed himself.
I'm sure he did, being that Northern Michigan guy. By the way, going back to Trey Augustine real quick, on the season he's only given up 17 goals. He has a .938 goals against, .938 save percentage, and that equates for a 170 goals against. He's 9-1-0 on the season, and his only loss was that Boston College loss. That's incredible.
That's wild.
But that's exactly what we wanted him to do. That's exactly what I wanted him to do. So,
yeah.
And he's doing that. So if this continues on, but remember, last year he did the same thing. He got off to a hot start and then tailed off towards the end of the year after World Juniors. So, still pulling for him. I just hope Michigan beats him 3 times. But anyway, yeah. So, Garrett, we got a problem, and it's with our Detroit Red Wings. I don't know where this team's going. You had a win against Calgary, which I was like, okay, this is going to be fine. And it was coming off, a win in New York where I thought the team was making a turn. Coming from behind against the Islanders in that third period with 3 goals with a 4-2 win. I was like, all right, cool. And then we went home, played Calgary, a game that was 1-0 forever, and then they tie it,
right.
Goes to overtime, the Red Wings win in overtime. I'm like, all right, cool. Now we have the Jersey Devils coming to town. And it was like they had too much stuffing and too much turkey on the night before or whatever, but laid an absolute egg against New Jersey. Now, granted, didn't get any points. It was a 1-goal game. But really, the Red Wings had a 2-0 lead in that game, surrendered it within 2 power plays, which that's another topic I want to talk about. It's the PK. And New Jersey ends up going 3 for 5 on the power play, and that's the difference in that game. Then you fast forward to today, and same damn deal. Vancouver is 2 for 4 on their power play. DeBrusk, the new guy in Vancouver from Boston, gets a hat trick, scores his first 2 goals. By the way, he scored 10 goals this year, and all 10 of his goals have been on the road. That's incredible.
Huh.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible. Louis DeBrusk, playing with the Vancouver Canucks, gets a hat trick today and the game winner in overtime. He scores the first 2 for Vancouver on a 5-on-3. It just, the penalty killing for this team. I don't know where this team is going. I feel like I don't think it's a playoff team. I don't know at this point, I don't know what you could do to change anything. I just don't know what you could do. I don't.
What's crazy is, I used the holiday weekend to watch some games because I can finally, I had time to finally watch some games. And obviously I went to the one against the Islanders, and they put together a 3, 4, 5 game stretch of hockey that was good. It was shut down defensive hockey. They made all the right assignments, and I mean, you would like to have seen a few more goals, but if you win games 2-1, 3-2, or 1-0, I mean, I'm cool with that because you're playing defensive hockey and that's the way you need to do it. And I sometimes I wonder if it's sometimes Don, I wonder if it's this team thinking that they've got to score 4 goals and like just run and gun, and they're just Jekyll and Hyde, right? They're Two-Face out there. It doesn't seem like they can score 4 or 5 goals and keep the puck out of the net more than 3 or 4 times out of the net. Now, there's issues in net, I think, right now for sure. I mean, Lyon's going to be out another week. You had mentioned Cam Talbot left today's game with an injury. Husso, I think, played fine. I don't think he was awful. I mean, he gave up a goal in the first shot he faced, but I mean, after that he settled in. I thought he looked okay. That fourth goal was definitely, I don't think his fault. And I mean, the overtime one, you can get into it where you will, but I mean, I think this team's kind of just stuck in the mud. I think they're kind of just stuck in the middle, and it's not a fun, messy middle to be in. What kind of move you can make? I mean, it's tough to say because you don't. I don't think the defense has been god awful. I mean, they were awful at the beginning of the season. I don't think I think they've been better as of late, but I also don't think that they've been good. I mean, the offense is finally coming around, but I don't think that it's been this world-breaking team that's starting to put the puck in the net like crazy. I mean, especially with like the Robbie Fabbris and the Perrons of the world. I do wonder if maybe there were just the wrong people that Yzerman decided to like go in the offseason, and sometimes maybe you lose that kind of secret sauce you had. Maybe the Wings also played a little bit above their weight last year too, and maybe we all got kind of fooled from where they were, and that's what a lot of people last year metrically were kind of saying was kind of happening. So you got to wonder, maybe that was the case where the Wings just played better and punched above their weight class last year, maybe longer than people had anticipated, and then they came crashing down to earth in February and March.
I guess that's possible.
I mean, because it's confusing to me, but at the same time, it's like I still kind of want to see a little more from Casper, but at the same time, I don't need him to be a point per game guy.
Yeah.
Do I want to see Jonathan Berger and keep doing what he's doing now? I do, but I also know that there's other guys on this roster that should be scoring and contributing more than he should be right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't sit back and I don't sit there and say, like, this team doesn't have fatal flaws. They just have a lot of small things where I'm like, I would replace this player, but it's not like they're bad players. The question is, who can you actually trade for that's going to incrementally make you better? And I'm not sure that they really have those guys.
I agree. I totally agree. And at this point in the season, this is just my personal opinion, I don't think the push should be to make the playoffs. I think the push right now should be let the kids play. Let the kids play. And if they want to move guys here, I say go for it and try to get better draft picks. I mean, at this point, this team's not going to be a playoff team. They haven't been able to put a good stretch together at all this season. So at some point, as much as I hate to throw the season away, I don't want to do that. But, I mean, what's the ask? I mean, what's the expectation? Like,
right.
Is the expectation to win and to make the playoffs? Because they're not. This team's not going to make the playoffs. And right now, you basically have, as you mentioned, you have Husso's going to be out and Lyon's going to be out, right?
Or Talbot, sorry.
I'm sorry, Talbot's going to be out and Lyon's going to be out. Now, Lyon's got another week or so, they said. Who knows how long Talbot's going to be out? So now you're going to start Husso. Do you bring Kosa up? I mean, I don't know. At this point, I don't know what else to do because right now this team is on the verge. Right now they're going to go to Boston on Tuesday, at Ottawa on Thursday, and they're going to host Colorado Saturday. That's your next 3. If you're telling me that Ville Husso is going to be in net for those 3 games, those are 3 losses right off the bat. They're 3 losses off the bat. And if you do that, Garrett, that means no points in 3 games. You're going to be sitting at the bottom of the Atlantic Division, and you're going to be a long way up that ladder. They're going to have to put together a December to remember, if you will, to be able to keep that going. Because
that Alexis Sales event?
You like that, yeah. They're gonna. I'm serious. They're going to have to do something to get out of that because, I don't know what else you could do. I mean, if you think about it, I was looking at the standings, or the schedule the rest of the season, right? And in December, if you look at the Red Wings schedule, let me just pull it up real quick. But the Red
I think
Wings,
they have a day with Toronto in there as well too. I want to say Toronto comes in, I believe, the week after. I believe it's the week after the Avalanche come in, so it should be the 14th. I believe would be the day.
Yep, you got Toronto in town.
Toronto
on Saturday, just looking to pummel us. So the month of December. Has, today's the first game. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You have 14 games, right, in the month of December. Realistically, for this team to stay in the hunt, they've got to win 8 of those 14. They got to win 8 of the 14. Well, you're already 0-1. You did get a point today, which good. But you got to take points against the Bruins, where in Boston, where they have not played well, and then against Ottawa. And for whatever reason, in Ottawa, we just do not seem to play well against the Senators. I don't know what it is.
Unless I'm there.
Unless you're there, so you're gonna have to fly to Ottawa.
Yes. Fun
and
fact,
you could stay close by.
Do you remember a couple years ago, Don? Do you remember a couple years ago? And this is dating ourselves quite a bit, but there was probably 5-6 years ago, Gus Nyquist on the Wings, and he roped around.
Oh yeah,
the ice in overtime like 3-4 times, and everyone's like, shoot, shoot, shoot!
Right.
And he finally shot and scored.
Yes.
I was there for that game.
You were at that game.
I was at that game in Ottawa, and actually I was sitting behind the net and saw that happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, good for
Only
you.
time I've been to Ottawa.
Ottawa. Yeah, and the funny thing is that stadium's not even in Ottawa. Anyway, so you have the Avalanche on the 7th, and then you travel to Buffalo on the 9th, in Philly on the 12th, host Toronto the 14th, host Philly on the 18th, host Montreal the 20th, at Montreal the 21st, then St. Louis, who's been as hot as a firecracker since Montgomery's got there, they come in the 23rd. Toronto comes back in the 27th. The Capitals, another team that's just been as hotter than hot, the Capitals on the 29th. And then you have the Fighting Crosbys coming in, the Penguins, on the 31st. You got to win 8 of the next 13 now to stay in the hunt. And this team doesn't have it, Garrett. Those are teams right there. There's a majority of those teams they should beat. Ottawa they should beat. Buffalo they should beat. Colorado they should beat. They should beat Philly.
What's messed up is you look at the standings and you look at the way that the East is shaken out this year. There's not a lot of teams that have created the separation. So
not yet.
It's frustrating.
Not yet. But it's, I think, in December,
right? But
December
I mean, they're only, standings wise, 4 points back of the Rangers. Like in the,
who have been a
and I know
dumpster
that
fire,
they're different divisions, but like they're 4 points less than the Rangers right now, and like that's saying something.
Yeah, I know, and that's the thing. We can't. My fear is that's what gets me thinking, because by making a move now and making it take it, and I think it would be a knee-jerk reaction, because if you just say, bah, we're 10, 11, and 3, we're done. But are we? We're 4 points out, to your point.
Yeah. I mean, you're 3 points out of third place in your own division. Like,
that's insane to me. That's what I'm saying. It's like if they put a heater together here and beat Boston and Ottawa, they're back in the playoffs. That's what I'm saying.
They showed a graphic on Saturday night. They showed a graphic on Hockey Night in Canada. We talked about, and I guess we can, segue this now to kind of the next thing I wanted to talk about, or at least, bring up. But
yeah,
they talk about every year how American Thanksgiving is the time of year you'll see who's in the playoff hunt. And right now the Wings aren't in the playoff hunt. But last year the Wings were the only team that were in the playoffs in the East that didn't make it in April. And it was the Islanders were the team that was outside of the playoffs that actually made it in.
And if I remember correctly, Garrett, the Islanders were way out of the playoffs, if I remember correctly. They were something
they were
6 or 7 points out.
Of the playoffs. I think they were like 10 points out or something.
It was, you may be right about that. It was a long way down.
I'll have to find the graphic somewhere on. I'm sure we'll find it.
No, you're right. It was the Islanders, the St. Louis Blues, and there was one other team. I forget who the other team was. But yes, the Islanders made it. The Red Wings did not, and neither did the Blues. So that was the Blues were on the other side, though, in the Western Conference. But to your point, the good thing for the Red Wings, though, I'll say this as we go into our next little part of the segment here. A lot of the games in December and January are at home, where I think we've played a little bit better. So that being the case, we do have to take a trip out to Winnipeg on January 4th, by the way, which I don't like our chances in that one. But they have a ton of home games before a little bit of a rotor there in the middle part of January to South Florida, but who wouldn't want to do that in January? And then you come back home and you host the Canadians, Kings, and Lightning again. So they've got to make hay in the month of December because that's 28 points in the month of December. If you look at January, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, another 14-game slate. So that's 28 games and a total of 56 points by the time you get to February. And if you're asking me, gun to my head, in the month of January, of those 14 games, you're probably going to have to win another 8 of those, Garrett. They need 16 wins through February 1st to stay in the hunt.
Well, it's put up or shut up time, and I think that if this team wants to be serious and take itself seriously and take that next step, I mean, they're going to have to step up and play some good hockey. They are. And,
I just don't know how you're going to be able.
They've got a schedule in front of them, and they've got a more balanced field in front of them to where they can get hot and they play hot and stay and play with a competitive edge. They can play themselves firmly into the playoffs. Like that's what this is heading into 2024 without a doubt.
My fear is because you get to February where we have the break, right? You only have 8 games in February. So that's why I'm scared because of those 8 games, you're going to have to play at least. You got to take 6 of 8. What I'm saying is this team's got to play at least 600 hockey, if not better, to stay in the hunt and take advantage of that. It's just I don't think Boston is going to. I don't think Boston is going to sit down at the bottom of the rankings for as long as they are. I just don't think they're going to.
Right.
So
no, you're probably not wrong.
Yeah.
By the way, you had mentioned 4 nations.
Yes.
I'd like to cover that next week. I'd like to cover it because
Let's do it.
For those interested, I'd like to cover it next week. They're announcing the full rosters on Wednesday. It's going to be on the TNT broadcast before the game. So give me 1 second.
By the way, Cam Talbot, Red Wings goaltender, is in the hunt. For one of the 3 goaltending spots for Team Canada, Garrett. So
yes,
unless he's
and how they're doing it and how they're going to do it. They're going to announce. They're basically going to have it set up 2:00 in the afternoon. They're going to release it so that way it kind of caters to the European schedule.
Sure.
So they're going to announce Finland and Sweden earlier in the day on the 4th, and then before the 7:00 games on TNT, they're going to announce the Team Canada and Team USA roster. So it should be very interesting, I think, from that aspect, or at least that angle, if you will. Should be interesting to see who makes it. I think it'll be interesting to see how many Red Wings make it. I think there's going to be a significant amount. I think there's going to be more on Team USA that I think we believe. Cam Talbot is in the running there. I think Lucas Raymond should be a lock for Team Sweden. It's going to be a really fun tournament without a doubt.
I thought Talbot was with Canada. Is he with Canada?
Talbot is with Canada,
yeah.
Yes. He's Canadian-born, correct.
So he'll be with Team Canada. In fact, they said that he has the 3rd spot. So, you got to think Lucas Raymond's going to be there. I wonder. I'm thinking there's going to be around 3 or 4 possible Red Wings. I think Larkin probably makes Team USA. I would think. Maybe not.
I would think Larkin makes Team USA. If DeBrincat and Kane had been a little more consistent, you could probably have said they have a chance to make it. There might be an outside shot. One of those 2 make it. I would be surprised if all 3 made it. Just considering that I don't think they've played very well to start this season. And I just think that this U.S. team is just too good. Right now I had it pulled up, but I know.
Are you saying that Jeff Petrie's not on the roster? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that Alex Lyon and Jack Campbell are not on this roster. JT Compher is not on this roster, Don. I'm very sorry to say that.
Shit. Well,
Ann Arbor Skyline's own Andrew Kopp is not going to be on this roster.
No. That's a shame. They don't know what they're missing. So, by the way, Garrett, there was a trade in the NHL over the weekend. the big tough guy from the Columbus Blue Jackets, David Jiricek. Yeah, Garrett Jiricek. Jiricek was traded to the Minnesota Wild. Have you ever seen that guy Jiricek play? Have you seen him before?
I have, and I was a little perplexed by the trade because I was a big fan of Jiricek coming into his draft season.
Yeah.
He was kind of one of those last picks by Columbus that Jarmo Kekalainen had made before he'd gotten, tossed to the side of the road, and they brought in Don Riddell to be their GM. This trade confused me a little bit, Don. It really confused me.
Well, Jiricek was...
I'm confused.
Go ahead.
Well, and I'm confused by it. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, Jiricek is a kid that he's like, on skates, he's like 6'9". He's a monster. And great player for Columbus, I would assume, but, man, he's a guy that I wish the Wings could get because we need that physicality in the lineup.
Well, so, the weird thing about him, and apparently Jeff Merrick and others had said that there were 6 to 7 teams that were interested in...
Yeah, I bet there were.
in him, and teams were offering as much as 2 first-round draft picks.
Really?
To try and get him. Yeah, there were multiple teams that wanted to do the 2 first-round draft picks for sure.
Wow, that's...
But, my thing with Jiricek is this, man. Columbus can't do anything right for whatever reason. The funny thing about Columbus is that when he was up here, he was hailed as this big, tough, defensive defenseman, with a little bit of offensive upside. He was going to be big, nasty, play every minute for them, play every situation for them, do everything he needed to do. And he looked like he was going to be a part of that
rebuild, right?
Core with Zach Werenski. It looks like he's going to be the number 2, number 3.
Yeah, man.
And like every prospect has, he had some issues, and one of his things was with skating. And I kind of thought, okay, well, you can fix the skating. You can't fix a lot of those other intangibles, but you can't really fix the skating. And I think there was just, in my opinion, I really think it was... In my opinion, I really think, Don, it's a combination of things. I think it was the player just not fitting with the current GM. Basically, it was a player that the current GM would not have selected if he was in that position.
Yeah.
And they were just trying to get something for a young player that still has upside. And they got quite a haul back for him. I'll let you go into the details in a minute of the trade.
They did.
But I think, but then I also think that it's a player that wanted to change the scenery but didn't help himself by making it incredibly difficult. And that's not the first time that we've seen that.
Yeah.
And I just wonder how many of these guys just get bad advice from agents or just from friends or confidants or wherever to just, it's one thing to, not all of us enjoy where we work. And I'm not saying that he had to suffer through it, but don't be, kind of an idiot about it, if you will, when it comes to, he cost himself probably a chance to, he probably cost himself a chance to, play big minutes and be on a bigger team and, maybe still be in Columbus and be a bigger part of that future.
Yeah.
And now he's going to be in a team, although I'll say this, Minnesota's a much better situation for him to end up in.
As long as he's going to make the main roster, because he could get sent down to Iowa and be part of that. So.
Right. I had heard that, and I've heard that with Minnesota that they've had a skating coach that's highly regarded across the hockey universe as one of the best skating coaches in the world.
Okay.
And I guess I hear that they've put a lot of money into actually working on their young prospects and getting them, power skating, development, working on all those types of things. So hopefully they can get him that way. And I think that, their Iowa Wild will definitely need him down there. And I think he's going to be in a good position to succeed. But, Don, please tell everybody more about the trade details. I did go off a little bit on.
No, you're good. So Damon Hunt is the player back to Columbus. And Columbus will also receive, listen to this, I hope you're sitting down, a first, a second, and a fourth-round draft pick in 2025.
Yeah, now the draft pick, the first-round draft pick, there is conditions with that. There are conditions with that. I don't know if you did see on there. There is a condition that if Columbus is selecting in the top 5 this year, that they would keep the draft pick and then it would move to 2026. Right.
So in other words, they can't have 2 draft picks within the top 5 is what that's saying. So that's basically what they're saying with that. So
correct.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we've seen this before, Garrett. Like, a team makes a trade like this, and it's hard for Columbus to turn that down, especially with a team that's rebuilding, right? And then, unfortunately, with the Johnny Gaudreau stuff, you have a chance to get 3 players for one here. Not a bad deal for them. So, just an interesting one. It was one that just kind of caught me off guard, and it's yeah. And by the way, if Minnesota ends up picking in the top 5, which is unlikely, Columbus would get the Wild's 2026 first round instead. So that is
correct.
That's the final on that. Very, very interesting. But yeah, so good stuff on the NHL stuff, Garrett. Do you want to go in and start talking about the Four Nations tournament coming up, or do you want to do prospect first?
Let's kind of put a bow on some of this with the NHL stuff.
Right.
We'll go into the Four Nations tournament. We've been talking about it for a while. We briefly brought it up there with the Red Wings. Instead of an All-Star break this year, they're doing basically a prelude to the Olympics that are going to be happening in roughly about, I'd say, 14 to 16 months, which is crazy that it's even that remotely close. I mean, it's remarkable that we are that close even to Olympic hockey again, with NHL players being represented,
which is going to be nice, by the way.
We're getting a prelude to that in February, where Four Nations are going to be playing in basically an in-season tournament. So you're going to have Canada, USA, you're going to have Sweden and Finland. The rosters have not been officially announced. Now, all the teams did have a chance to announce 6 players that they locked in early. I believe that was last year, either around the finals or the All-Star game or somewhere around there, when they announced the tournament, that they had a window where they could guarantee 6 players that were going to be on the roster. For the United States, it was Adam Fox, the defenseman for the Rangers, Quinn Hughes, who we saw play later today, on the Vancouver Canucks. No goalies were selected for Team USA, but I mean, there's pretty much 3 that I think most people would consensus pick, if you will. Mm-hmm. Matt Tkachuk, Austin Matthews, Jack Eichel were the last 3 that were on there. So, and then Charlie McAvoy as well. So, so those were the 6 that were on there initially. I think that you have a lot of questions, maybe on defense with who you pick, because I think you're so deep in everywhere. But basically, the full rosters are going to come out on Wednesday, and I think my big thing is, Don, for a hockey fan and someone who enjoys the sport but also wants to enjoy international competition and enjoys seeing the Olympics, seeing players wear your country's colors. And the players wanted this, right? The players wanted to go back to the Olympics. That means something to have your country's colors on the front of your chest.
Absolutely. By the way, Garrett, real quick, with this tournament, are they playing on NHL ice, or are they going to play on Olympic ice?
So they're playing on NHL ice.
Interesting.
They're playing on NHL ice. It's not an IIHF.
So it's not an IIHF.
To my knowledge, I don't believe this is an IIHF sanctioned tournament. This sounds like this is an NHL.
It's an NHLPA tournament. It is, for sure.
Correct.
Okay, interesting.
Correct. And it's more so just to kind of wet the whistle, if you will, for those interested in. Very
nice. Because that's very much how they did the last one. What was the one where they had like North America and
the Europe team, like the North American team that was like.
The North American team. So this is very similar to that. So I think because it was in Toronto.
Right.
So, yeah, okay.
Right. So, and I guess I'm curious to see, Don, how this will be. And I'm curious for everyone's responses as well, too. Give us your thoughts. Obviously, raising banner on X. We're going to set up a Facebook page as well, too. Hopefully, we can set up a Facebook and Instagram. When they do announce the rosters, we can post those on there.
Yeah.
That's going to be something I want to do over the next month or so anyways. We head into 2025. We're going to announce some details about that probably towards the end of the month as well, too, kind of what we have going forward, if you will, like resolutions and things. But your thought, not only your thoughts on this, Don, but the Dan Rosen of the NHL.com posted his basically their final rosters, and there was a couple countries that they released right away, but this one's from roughly a month ago, as the time of reading this, November the 1st. And they have 13 forwards, 7 defensemen and 3 goalies for the Team USA roster, and tell me how this doesn't win gold. Their roster is as follows. They have their 13 forwards are Cole Caulfield, Shelby Township native Kyle Connor of the Winnipeg Jets, Jack Eichel, who we knew would be on the roster already. They have Jake Gensel of the Lightning, Jack Hughes, Clayton Keller, Chris Kreider of the Rangers, who is also in a little bit of trade talk. And we might end the show with that because I do kind of want to get your thoughts on that real quick, Don. Maybe we'll just kind of put a little bow on that and see how that works out.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Dylan Larkin of the Red Wings is on there, so the Wings will be represented by Team USA. Austin Matthews, as we mentioned before. JT Miller of the Vancouver Canucks. Now, that'll probably change because Miller is in the player assistance program, so he's away from the team now. Sorry, he's not in the assistance program, but he is away from the team. So I do wonder if that changes who might be the odd man in, assuming that Miller will probably not be available for that tournament in February.
Do you think?
It'd be interesting to see.
Do you think maybe DeBrincat sneaks on the squad?
Possibly. I mean, they put his name amongst some of the others as like Vinny Trocheck could also be on that list. Troy Terry, Alex Tuck, Brock Besser, and Matt Boldy are also options as well too. That could maybe replace him because they also have to round out the list. They have Jason Robertson and Brady Tkachuk on the forward side.
Robertson would be tough, and so would Tkachuk be tough to pass over. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, and I mean, if you arguing out of that list, I mean, if you're going to argue someone who should probably be on that list before DeBrincat, I think Trocheck can play both wing and center. And probably makes more sense.
Hard to you're right. DeBrincat probably slides down that list a little bit, but to answer your question, will that team win gold or win that tournament? Man, I'll tell you what, it's going to be tough not to. But
yeah. I mean, even at defense, Don, they've got John Carlson. I mean, he's a little older, but a veteran defenseman. You know, pretty underrated guy back when he was at his peak. I mean, he was Norris Trophy caliber for several years before he, just kind of petered out. And then,
but I look,
Brock
Garrett,
Faber, Adam Fox, Quinn Hughes, McAvoy. They got Jacob Slavin in there, who's still with the Carolina Hurricanes, and Zach Werenski. I mean, you could place Noah Hannafin in there. You could place Jacob Trouba in there. You could.
Yep.
It's so rich and so deep.
But here's the problem
with this Team USA roster at defense and in goalie. I mean, they've got the roster currently set at Connor Hellebuck. Ottinger would be in for Demko, and then Jeremy Swayman. It's like the list is so deep at defense.
But here's the problem.
It's crazy.
Here's the problem. You have a team like Sweden, who's going to match up their defense like this: Rasmus Andersson, Rasmussen Dahlin, Matthias Ekholm, Gustav Forsland, Victor Hedman, Erik Karlsson, and Lindholm. That's your 7 defensemen for Team Sweden. I'm leaning more Sweden there. If you want to go to the goaltenders, you have Philip Gustafsson, Jakob Markstrom, and Ullmark.
The U.S. wins in the goaltending battle. I mean, clearly, in my eyes, it's a better thing there. But you got to argue that might be the best defensive core out there in Sweden. Like
that might be the best defensive core in the history of the game. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Like, there's size, there's physicality, there's goal scoring. I don't know how you beat that.
There's smarts. I mean, there's a bunch of good two-way game guys. Are very versatile players. I mean, all 7 of those defensemen or 8 defensemen that you mentioned, I mean, can play both the PK and the power play.
That's the thing. I don't know how you're going to beat that. And if you look at their forwards, they have Jesper Bratt from the Devils, Leo Carlsson from the Ducks, Eriksson Ek from the Wild, Philip Forsberg from Nashville, William Karlsson from Vegas, Andre Kemp from the Kings, Elias Lindholm from the Bruins, William Nylander from Toronto, Elias Pettersson from Vancouver, Ricard Raquel from the Penguins, Lucas Raymond from your Red Wings, Makia Zibanejad from the New York Rangers, and Fabian Zetterlund from the San Jose Sharks, who I really like, by the way. Their forwards are stout. So,
yeah, 100%.
I don't. Should Team USA is going to compete. Don't get me wrong. It's a good roster. I think Sweden's 1, USA's 2, and it's a toss-up between Canada and Finland at 3 and 4.
Yeah.
That's where it's at.
And
I
would probably say maybe Canada would have a chance to be 3 just because I think that down the middle they're going to be so loaded. It's going to be loaded. They're going to be bursting at the seams with centers. I mean, the fact that they're going to probably have to play Bedard at wing is going to be absolutely mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have they don't have a goalie that could stop a freaking beach ball, but I have their roster pulled up, by the way, Don. They've got on here. They just had a new list pop up.
I was looking for Finland.
I'm trying to.
Here we go. Here's what the Finns have. So the Finns on defense. So Haskinen from the Stars. Linden from the Stars. You have Mikola from the Rangers. Oli Mata from Utah. Ristolainen from Philadelphia. And Velimakari from the Utah Hockey Club. So that...
Valimaki.
Valimaki, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yep.
So I think that's a little bit of a step back goaltending wise. Lankinen, who played today for the Vancouver Canucks, played
probably
very, very
Saros,
well.
Right?
Saros, and then Luukkonen from the Sabres. So Pekka Luukkonen.
Gotcha.
So those are your three goaltenders. Your forwards: Aho, Barkov, Grunland, Haula, Rupe Hintz, who should be a Detroit Red Wing with Sadale Star, Capo Kakko, Jesper Kolomicki from Carolina, Lankinen from Colorado, London from Florida, Lucerini from Florida, Rantanen from Colorado, Teravainen from Chicago, and Tolvanen from Seattle. So those are your forwards. I got to put Sweden at 4.
For those wondering where they're going to announce those as well, NHL came out. There's going to be a 2 p.m. edition of Sports Center on ESPN that's going to announce the Finland-Sweden rosters at 2 p.m. It's also going to be available on Sportsnet, 6:30. The balance of the rosters for Canada and the United States will be announced on pregame shows, both on Sportsnet and on TNT. And obviously, we'll be online as well, too. We'll repost it at Raising Banner on X, and we will, post anything related to that as well, too, popping up as well on socials. Jerseys have already been released. You're going to be able to get ticket information. If you live in Boston, you live in Montreal, and you happen to be listening to us, thank you very much. We love the fact that we're growing at a nice pace and that you've chosen to listen to us, but you'll have more information on accommodation, tickets, ticket packages, things like that at that point. So again, 2 p.m., NHL Network, ESPN announcing Finland, Sweden on the 4th, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time here in North America. On this side of the pond, Sportsnet TNT are going to announce the Canada and Team USA rosters.
Very, very nice. Now, that's a round-robin tournament, right?
Correct. It's a round-robin tournament, 3 games. It's a 3-game. You'll play each country. So U.S., Canada.
Oh no, okay.
Play.
3 games there. Okay, I got you. Yep. Okay.
So it's going to be an equal amount of games. So I believe there's going to be 4 games played in Montreal. There's going to be 4 games played in Boston. There's going to be two days that those games are played in Montreal. There's going to be 2 days that games are played in Boston.
Oh, so all 4 teams are going to be okay. All right. That's interesting.
Yes.
That's
so,
very, very interesting.
And how that'll work is as follows. So, the scheduling would be: you're going to have the 12th of February in Montreal. You're going to have Canada opening up against Sweden, and then you're going to have USA, Finland. So it's basically going to be a round robin. The 15th on Saturday, so it'll be an 8 p.m. game. So they're going to have a doubleheader that day. So you're going to have a 1 o'clock and 8 o'clock game. US and Canada will play 8 o'clock. Obviously, the game that most people want to watch. Then they'll take a day off, head to Boston. It'll be Sweden, USA, and then they will actually have a championship game. It looks like on the Thursday, the 20th at 8 p.m. in Boston. So it looks like there will be a championship game for the 2 teams who do win the round robin, and that'll be assuming on
a points kind of system. Okay, so there you go. So that's how it's going to work out. Yeah, man, that's going to be awesome. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's going to wet the whistle of those people. It's going to wet the whistle because, like I said, we're roughly 15-ish months away from the Olympics and having, NHL players wearing their home colors. Like, it seems further away than what it is, but it's not that far away.
No, it's not. And it's something that I'm sure we'll talk about in the summer as we move forward, because that's going to be kind of setting up for next year. We're like you said, 15 months away from the Olympics, which is interesting. So,
it might be. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's 15 months. Yeah, because today's the 1st. We're recording this on Sunday, December the 1st.
Yes.
For those listening after when we record. it would be 15 months. No, 14 or 15. It's 14.
Either
or 15
way,
months
if you say 15 months, I mean, you're going into February-ish. That's usually what it is. Could be January, I guess. But by the way, where are the Olympics in 26?
They are going to be in Italy, so they're going to be in Milan and then up in the Italian Alps.
In the Italian Alps, so there you go. So that's going to be okay. So that's 6.
They're splitting, so they're splitting it. So they're going to have some of the hockey will be played in Milan, and then they're going to have like all the skiing, snowboarding, and stuff will all be up in the mountains of in a mountain town called Cortina. So and the games will start in February the 6th of 2026.
So there you go. So then hockey will be a week later. So there you go. So that's typically how it goes. So in Italy, that puts us, if you're on the Eastern time, that's roughly, 6 hours difference? 6 hours, I think, for Italy? Italy's like the same as Germany.
I just typed it into the old Google machine. It's 1 o'clock in the morning over there right now in Milan, so it'd be a 6-hour time frame. So most of the games would probably be early afternoon for us here in the Eastern time zone in the U.S.
If they play them at night there, yes, that is correct. Yeah.
If they play them at night, they could possibly play a game maybe 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon here. It's a later game, but again, I mean, they want to capture as much primetime coverage as well too. So I'm assuming that they would probably have them playing a lot of mid-afternoon, late-afternoon games here in the States.
Yeah, that's my guess too, and that should be fun. I know the last time they went. But when was the last time the NHL players were in that? Was that in Russia?
Russia, Sochi.
Yeah, Sochi. Yes. So that was the last time, and that was when TJ Oshie won a couple of games for us in the shootout. So for Team USA. So I remember
he went like a million rounds. It was one of the greatest things ever.
Yeah, he did. He took all the rounds of the shootout. So, oh my gosh, that's so funny. So, Garrett, to put a bow on the NHL stuff. You want to talk about the Chris Kreider and maybe Trouba stuff with the Rangers? They had been put on.
Let's just kind of pivot past that. Let's pivot past that.
Well, just to instead of leaving you hanging, the Rangers have put them on perhaps the trading block. So as more comes of that, we'll let you all know. And as you mentioned, at Raising Banner on X, we will obviously post that if that something was to happen. But that's what Jacob Trouba and Chris Kreider with the New York Rangers. Now, today, actually it was yesterday, my fault. Real quick, Garrett, I know we'll get away from this. But the New York Rangers scratched Riley Smith. He was a healthy scratch from the game yesterday. So I don't know.
Interesting.
Yep. So there's some rumblings. And that was from Elliot Friedman, by the way. So that's just not from anybody. So, yeah. All right. So, prospects. This past week we had the prospects tournament. I watched the first game. As you know, Garrett, I like to watch a lot of junior hockey. So I was not surprised at all at the speed the CHL had. What I was disappointed with was the lack of skill, maybe, that the U.S. players had. Where I thought the United States had caught up and passed Canada, the first game definitely showed that I was really wrong on that one. Because the CHL team straight up took it to them in game one for 4 goals in the second period.
Now, albeit that's a under-18 team that is...
It is.
Kind of developing a little bit.
Yep.
And some of the better players are off in college right now.
Yes, that's also true.
But I would probably agree with you. I thought that the U.S. would fare a little bit better.
Yeah, they good first period, I thought. But the second period, Team Canada came out, or Team CHL, came out and really put it on them. I mean, there was 4 goals in 6 minutes. And I was like, okay. And there was nothing the goaltender could do about any of those goals. I mean, there was a couple breakaways. I really thought that the United States team was going to be a little bit better. So I was I don't want to say disappointed, because it's hard to be disappointed in that kind of tournament. But,
right.
But I did not see the second game, though.
And it looks like the U.S. lost 3-2, but it looks like it was a game that, again, the CHL team dominated, outshot outshot the U.S. 38-12.
38-12. We're in trouble if that's the case, because you got to remember this is going into the World Juniors that is coming up at the day after Christmas, the 26th, which I believe, Garrett, this year is in Ottawa. World Juniors. I can't remember.
Sound right.
I think it's in Ottawa this year, and if Team USA is going to compete in that, which they typically do, they're going to...
Well, that's a over 20, so that's a U20, so that can include players from the 18 team plus guys in college, so that's a little different.
Fair, but if they're going to do that, they're going to have to pick it up. Like, they can't have the same type of... yes, it's in Ottawa, by the way. They can't have the same kind of showing that they've had in this tournament. Now, as you mentioned, it's the under 18 and under. I get it.
Don, I apologize. Give me a few minutes, but I do have to run to grab a computer charger because my computer's about to die.
Well, damn. So all right, I guess I'll hang on to this one.
I'm going to let you captain the ship here for a minute. So, take over and, give the fine people what they want.
What they've been paying for. While Garrett goes and gets his charger, we're always moving the needle here on Raising the Banner. We're a very fluid show. So, we do what we have to do sometimes. But, yeah, going back to that tournament, was a bad showing by Team USA. Maybe it's something that's more along the lines of maybe just the stage level, that kind of deal. It's possible. It's hard to get too wrapped up into a tournament like that size and start making judgment calls. I was just expecting a little bit better of a showing for that, and watching that first game was kind of blown away at how lackadaisical the Team USA was. So there's a long way to go. It's good to see it, though. It's good to have it on Showcase. It's the first of its kind, as we mentioned. And, look, long way to go for Team USA. But I thought it was – Garrett and I usually have these conversations in the summertime, and we thought, Team USA had caught or maybe even passed Canada. And, from an international stage, and maybe we're wrong on that, so we'll see. You look at the rosters though for like the Four Nations tournament, and you're like, wow, this Team USA is a lot better than Canada is, from that type of scenario. And so, I think Canada. I still don't think anyone's passed Sweden yet, but I do think Team USA has caught up to Canada in that aspect. We were curious, though, on how the junior level was going to be, and that tournament kind of showed us a little something because, as Garrett said, that's your under 18. That's kind of your development group, right? That's kind of the players that are coming up behind the World Juniors who would go to the 21 level, right? So, if you will, that is kind of like your AA level of the prospect pool. So, still time to get better, but it was a little alarming. I'm not going to lie. So, and if anyone watched it, by the way, it was on the NHL Network. This past week. So, very good to see there. And if you want to take a look at some more of the Red Wings prospects, as we mentioned off the top of the show, Trey Augustine had a good weekend again with another shutout against Linwood. Looking really, really good there. Going forward, some more players for our great Red Wings prospects for the year so far. Axel Sandin Pellikka with Schlefka. That team is still struggle bussing over there. Not sure what's going on. But Schlefka is still playing pretty dysfunctional, according to their website. ASP had a ton of chances. And Michael Brenzen Needgard finishing every check. Super physical this weekend again for Schlefka over there. Schlefka did lose 2-0 in that game. Both of our Red Wing prospects in ASP and Brenzen Needgard had 2 penalty minutes. Looks like ASP had 5 shots on goal in that game. Played 24:06 on the ice, whereas Michael Bronze Needgard played 18:08. So they're getting a lot of ice time. 24:06 is a lot of ice time for a kid at 18 years old and Axel Sandin Pellikka. So that's a lot of ice time, Garrett. By the way, welcome back. Welcome back.
But he's a guy that it's nice to see that he's maturing the way he should, which is what you want to see.
You can't just walk into the SHL and play 24 minutes. Like, that's not if you can play 24 minutes in the SHL, you can play 24 minutes in the NHL. So,
Oh yeah.
it's there. Like it's that close. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's down on the farm.
Well done, Don. Well done.
Thank you.
Done.
You know, I did
took a
what I
little longer
could.
than I thought.
That's okay. I knew you had to get a beer or something like that. I get it. It happens. Garrett, I was looking for one more, but our prospects with the Griffins again. Amadeus Lombardi with another goal again today and an assist. Now, however, he didn't play in the third period, so there's a fear of injury. I don't know what happened. So we'll wait to see what's going on with that. And then Kazar, he's out for another month, according to Grand Rapids. I don't know what happened. Mazer, not Kazar. Mazer is going to be out for another month, they said, for an undisclosed injury. He's out for another month. I was wondering what was going on because he hadn't been on the bench, and I hadn't seen him on the roster at all. And apparently he's out for another month. So not sure what's going on with that. Nady Danielson was a goal, as you heard from right at the beginning of the show. So down on the farm's looking good. Kosa's playing really, really well in net for the Griffins.
He's at a .925 goals again, or at a .925 save percentage. He's actually hit him, and the fact that him and Augustine are above .920 and their goals against are where they're at. It's pretty spot on. I mean, today he gave up 4 goals, sure, but he's at a 2.21 goals against. I mean, that's what you want to see from the young kid.
Yeah, and he's handling his business
he's
down there.
Pretty much almost every start on the season. I mean, they've played 17 games and he started 14. Like he's pretty much the number one.
Yeah, he didn't play last night in the loss to Chicago, but you got to give him a little bit of a break. So it's interesting to see. I'm going to be interested to see, Garrett, if Kosa gets called up now, and if the Red Wings decide to bring him up for a stretch here, to back up Hossa. To break up Husso. So I'm curious to see, because if that's the case, that gives Jack Campbell an opportunity in Grand Rapids to maybe see what he's got. And then you have Geilander, who's kind of going back and forth.
And he's already cleared waivers, he's a guy that might not need to clear waivers a whole lot. So if you do need to have him in a pinch, he's available.
I would like to see and maybe this is a time to bring Kosa up for a couple games. Remember, as long as he doesn't play more than, I think he's still on the Casper kind of thing. So as long as he doesn't play more than 40 games, which he's not going to, bring him up for a stint of 10 games maybe. Give him a change of scenery.
Right.
See what he does.
And that's only just for contract purposes as well, just for the entry-level purposes. But, the 10-game rule. The 40 game is more so for the actual waiver rights as well, like we've mentioned before. So We'll see what happens. There's going to be some questions, obviously, in goaltending. And, Eicherman has known that was an issue. He saw it last year. The Wings dealt with it, at certain points last year. Seems like he tried to address it. Kosa's playing very well. We'll see if he gives him an opportunity. 3 games, against high quality teams this week.
Yep.
You're gonna have to see what happens. I'm going to guess, Don, that they'll probably call someone up tomorrow.
They got to.
They'll probably have somebody on the flight with them tomorrow out to Boston, but I can't. But I can't be too certain.
Yeah. Well, and we'll keep you updated as much as we can. The old X. Garrett, is there anything else you want to close with before we ship everybody off for the post-Thanksgiving show?
No, I think we've pretty much covered everything we need to do. Again, excited to have some international hockey coming up, and I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving holiday. We're heading into the best time of year for hockey as well, too, when it comes to tournaments, and I'm just super excited to just kind of get this thing off the ground and get Matt back in town next week.
Yes,
and have him kind of join us, kind of pick his brain on a couple different things and go from there.
See if we can have a 4-hour show next time when Matt comes in town. That'd be fun. No, just kidding. So next week, Garrett, like I said, if we can get Matt back on, that'd be great. Otherwise, we will talk more Red Wings hockey. As I mentioned, the Wings are in Boston on Tuesday, in Ottawa Thursday, and home for Colorado on Saturday. By the way, the Toledo Walleye, who also have been as hot as a firecracker, we didn't get to talk about them too much this week. They host the Heartlanders on Wednesday, and then host Bloomington on the weekend. Whereas Grand Rapids will host Chicago Friday, travel to Chicago on Saturday, and next Sunday. So that is your Down on the Farm report. from Raising the Banner. So, for Garrett Kaloje, Don Tottingham, thank you all again for joining us. We'll be back with you again next week. Same channel, same station, same time, whatever time you decide to download and listen to it. So, thanks again for listening to us, everybody. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. We'll see you next week. See ya.
Dude.